So now I am transitioning into finally sharing with you guys the story of the life-changing event that I mentioned 2 weeks ago that I was going through. And it's interesting because this is a story that's not about me, at least not 100%, but I hope to be able to describe how it affects me. The reason I express it is because, again, this channel is about me. These are my stories, my experiences, my feelings, and this helps me. And it also helps me with the preservation of my memories. This is a topic that I never thought I would make. Not because I didn't think it could happen, but it's because the moment that it happens, you're still in a little bit of a state of denial because something that was a part of your life for a decade, almost a decade in this case, suddenly isn't there anymore. The picture looks like something is missing. And in order for me to get my mind into it, I'm going to pause here for a second to revisit the photographic documentation of the event that I have so that I can get my mind close to how I felt weeks ago, which is making me wish I would have started recording. But at the same time, I said I wasn't even sure I was going to share the story anyway. But I decided that I think it's best if I did because it helps me and it's been a significant event. So I'll be right back. Editing Zam here. I'm getting ready to show footage of an accident scene. Nothing too graphic, but I think it would be responsible to let you know that you're getting ready to see that, just in case someone out there cannot bear to see that due to experiences. So just know that it'll transition in 3, 2, 1. Now this is the next day at the tow yard to clean the car out. I'm in absolute denial, you guys. Absolute denial. I must say I'm very proud. It did its job. Could have been smashed in, but not. Nothing. I had never seen this before. I've seen it in my car, but not this one. Yep. Man. Ma is the kind of driver who only goes out to drive what's necessary. Work, appointments, grocery store, that's it. We only went on one trip on the raft back in 2014. We drove maybe 3 hours away and then 3 hours back. That was about it. That mug did not even have 40,000 miles on it. And I kid you not, it was the newest looking car, despite being almost 10 years old. It was the newest looking car in that lot. This sucks. I'm still tripping. It's only 1 now. My chest is starting to feel tight again. I'm in absolute denial, you guys. Absolute denial. Right, by this point, I was trying to determine whether or not I was gonna share, and that's when I decided that, yeah, I better share, because this is very impactful. I must say I'm very proud. I had never observed beneath that. I had never seen this before. I've seen it in my car, but not this one. Oh, I literally said that. Yeah. This sucks. Yep. So that was an ordinary day, an ordinary evening, until it wasn't. I was at home. I believe that I was posting items to my site. I was creating listings of things to sell. Mom went out, and this was close to the time that I go to the gym, and I am taken to the gym. I go with my boyfriend. We go together. We've been going together for like 9 years now. And while we were at the gym, Mom calls me, and sometimes I don't know where the call is going to go when I'm using Bluetooth. Sometimes it goes to my watch, sometimes it goes to my headphones, sometimes it goes to my phone. So I made a mistake and I accidentally hung up on that call. I thought, well, if Mom is calling, I know it's an emergency. And as I was dialing her again, she left a voicemail. So anyway, I called her and she told me, girl, I need you to come over because I just got in a really, really ugly, nasty wreck. And I'm like, my thought was, great, another fucking problem for my life. Okay. Like at first, I didn't even know how to react. Since she sounded okay, she's alive, she's talking to me, I didn't even ask her if she's fine. She was like, I need your help. Can you come here? And then I thought, why? Like, what am I going to go there for? I'm pretty sure law enforcement is there and the ambulance is there. Whatever needs to be there is there. And I don't want for that to be misunderstood. What I mean by that is by me going over there, what is being achieved? What can I process that isn't being processed already? And I don't want to make it sound like I'm being inconvenienced, like she's not important, or like this is not an important event. It's just that I just could not see what it was that she needed from me, what it was that I could do. We head out, we go over there, and while on our way, I text her and I'm like, but are you okay? Because I imagined that if she wasn't, she would have mentioned something. But yeah, she said she was okay. But the reason I had that reaction, which was no reaction, is because I'm like, another goddamn fucking problem in my life. And again, this happened to her. This is her matter. This is her wreck, her accident. But it inevitably has an impact on me because I'm the only person she has around. Now I'm the one who's gonna have to process that because for some reason she doesn't do very well about taking charge of her own affairs, of her own situations. She never wants to do these things alone. And if you guys have known me for a while, hopefully you can make the connection of why I react in that manner, which is I never get to enjoy my parents recreationally. I'm always dealing with them in a stressful way, which is this bill needs attention. This accident just happened to me. I just got diagnosed with this disease. Nothing is ever recreational. Nothing is ever fun. It's always business oriented, serious oriented. So I'm like, when this wreck happened, all I could think about is, great, I'm gonna have to be the one sitting with her, helping her dial her own insurance, and those things, because for some reason she just does not want to do it alone. And the reason I say it like that is because when stuff has happened to me, nobody fucking finds out because I take care of it alone, on my own. I make the pertinent calls. I show up to whatever offices I have to show up to, show my face, express myself, deal with my situation, face it. I don't get to tell somebody to be my personal assistant in matters like that. The most important thing about this event with my mom is that she's okay. Like, she's great. She got to walk out of this one because that could have been the last time that I saw her. It could have been it. But fortunately, the way that it happened to be very, very minor. The RAV, her vehicle, it was a complete loss. The matter with the insurance is almost finalized. All we have to do is like finish signing off that, the vehicle no longer exists and that you gotta mail in the title and whatever fucking other thing you gotta do. I guess I should mention my mom never interacted with the other driver, but everybody was fine. Nobody got hurt. Nobody died, nothing like that. But honestly, there's really not much information on the other driver because Ma never stepped out of her vehicle until I got there and we were heading out. When I saw that, I thought, first of all, this is Ma. Ma has never been in a wreck. She has never interacted with law enforcement. She has never been pulled over for anything. Just absolute straight A, perfect student. It took one little ass blind spot to change that. And sincerely, I'm still not very, very, very clear how it happened because the way that she describes it, I've been on the road that this happened, but I still cannot really visualize how it happened. But I just know that it had to do with her trying to make a U-turn and her not seeing an incoming car because at this intersection there isn't a light. But whatever car was across from her blocked her view from confirming if there was someone coming from that lane. So I get it. Because when I have blind spots in my car, you'll see me, I enter defense mode. I'm always scanning, looking ahead, and that's why I don't care how desperate the person who's behind me is. They can honk at me. They can keep creeping closer to my bumper. They can step out of their car, point a gun at me, shoot me for all I care. You're not going to bully me into me making a mistake, performing a maneuver just because you're in a hurry. When it comes to blind spots, I'm always thinking, okay, I know how dangerous it is that I cannot confirm what's happening behind a car. I have made that mistake before, where I have begun to merge and there was someone coming. I have done that twice, and fortunately, those 2 times it's happened, I've been able to either stop in time and the other driver was paying attention and they were able to dodge me, or I was able to completely sink my foot onto the acceleration, and me accelerating like that, as weak a propulsion as this car may have, I was able to buy some distance and time for the other driver who would have hit me to perform their evasive maneuver. This happened, life-changing event. Now Ma doesn't have a car. It's been totaled. It was paid off. Ultimately, she decided that this is probably a sign. She hasn't been working since the 1st of March because she was written off from her job by her doctor. She is experiencing a physical condition that's progressive, and therefore there's some physical stuff that she just cannot do anymore. She's a teacher, but it's a very demanding job, so she hasn't really been able to find something new. She stopped searching for a job, and she has decided that instead she'll move closer to family. Like, whatever family she is connected with, she is tight with. She decided to move that way. And my brother also happens to be in that area too, so I guess he'll be in charge now. For me personally, I think it's nice that it happened this way, because that is probably like the most major thing that she owned, that is probably her most valuable, and now that's out of the way. I forgot to mention that, of course, as spiritual people, we started to wonder about the why it happened the way it happened. Why was she relatively unscathed? Why did the event take place? And funnily enough, we had installed a new battery on it about 2 weeks before that happened. I had to scramble to get the battery because she let it die at home, not replacing it on time. And I remember how much scrambling my boyfriend and I did that evening to get that done. And then this thing dies with a brand new battery on it. And I remember that about a month, 2 months ago, we got a letter from Toyo saying that there is yet another defect with RAV4 batteries catching on fire or some shit. So not only did this battery seem to be a little bigger, because there was this rod that hung loosely after my boyfriend installed it, but I looked at it as, well, if this model of RAV has that issue, maybe you are going to run into a problem with that known defect, and maybe that was going to be it. Maybe that was going to be yet another emergency that we were going to have to deal with, and who knows what that looks like. I really think that it was a sign for her to get rid of probably her biggest responsibility that she owned, and then be able to make her move. Another thing I personally thought about is that is a SUV, although it's a smaller one that seemed comfortable for her. She has her physical condition going on. Maybe this vehicle was going to be difficult for her to manage. I wasn't really going to be interested in it, but stepping in and out of it was probably going to start becoming uncomfortable. So maybe this was God's way of saying, you can't be in this vehicle anymore because I either have one better or you simply will not be driving anymore. Something like that. In addition, considering her unemployed status, maybe the maintenance of that thing was something that she wasn't realistically going to be able to keep up with, because maintaining that RAV is far more expensive than maintaining my little ass Corolla. I can tell you that much. Servicing in general, because of parts being scarce and whatnot, has been going up in price anyway, and that had continuously been her comment, like, every time I go I'm spending $400-$500, blah blah blah. I'm like she didn't even have to decide on it or find something to do with it. It literally resolved itself. The only injury that Ma sustained was, we're assuming this happened from the pedal, her left ankle got bruised up really bad, and to this day it still has bruises. I'm guessing when she got hit, the momentum caused her ankle to run onto the brake. This is us assuming, because she doesn't know how it happened. She just felt the hit, but she didn't know what hit her. When it comes to the RAV itself, because everything was fine, like with my mom, I was just geeking the fuck out about the way that it was designed. At least it was the passenger side that got hit, as you saw, but from the inside, it's not like that looked smashed in or pushed in. The curtains deployed, which is the universal symbol of this car is totaled anytime the airbag deploys, pretty much. The way I see it is it's guaranteed it's total. But I had always wondered what this little SRS curtain airbag meant. Like, I wasn't sure what a curtain airbag looked like. They deployed successfully, and I always assumed that if one airbag goes off, all of them are going to go off. The front, nothing happened. This side, nothing happened. And with mom, fortunately, the hit didn't hit her directly. It was the opposite side of the car. But even if she would have taken the hit, it's probable that she might have escaped at least alive. I'm not sure what kind of injuries she might have had. Maybe I can imagine a hip, which she has already had hip procedures. Maybe that might have suffered a little bit, possibly a shoulder, maybe like the jolt of the accident might have caused something, or maybe the airbag itself, it's known for causing injuries. Maybe that's it. It happened the way that it did. We're extremely grateful. I can think of people who simply do not get to walk out of their accidents, and I don't think that making a mistake, any kind of mistake, should cost you your life, but for some people it does, and it's very unfortunate. I had all of those thoughts happening at the same time, and therefore it's not like I can tell you the story and tell you in order of importance. And that's what was processing in my mind. It's like, okay, my mom got in a wreck, she's alive, boom, I don't have to worry about this being a life-changing event from the absolute worst end of the spectrum, both the aspect of what it means to lose a parent, also processing the fact that they're gone, such as the arrangements and whatever legal ramifications that has, all of that stuff. I don't get to worry about that. We only get to worry about eliminating the RAF from our legal existence. When I think about it, those first 2-3 days, it was very jarring because, like I've said before, for 9 years, that car, the RAV, would have been 10 years old on June 27th, and it didn't make it. So for like 9 years, almost 10, I got used to seeing this car and her car next to each other at home. And in the morning, going to the kitchen, looking out the window, the RAV was like right there. And as I was coming home, if mom was home, then I would pull into my spot next to it, and it's like the whale with its tiny baby, despite this car being older. That's the way I looked at it. But now that was gone. It was super impactful to see it like that. But for mom, she has to live with remembering the sound that she heard. She said it was so loud, it sounded super bad. As you saw, the tire exploded pretty much. The door got smashed in, the glass shattered. And this is what I want to like nerd out about the curtain airbag. Now I see what it does. It's a cushion, of course, which you can think about this critically, but to see it deployed, it hits different. If somebody would have been there and they get knocked out, at least if their head tilts to this side, you're not going to lie your face on top of glass. And that curtain did such a good job that all I managed to see was one tiny shard of glass on the floor. That's all I ever saw. I never saw the seat. It didn't have anything. It was just clean, completely clean. That was something nice to see. And I thought, I never really thought of Toyos as having like armored capabilities, but I got to observe the things that I had read about or seen videos about, which is the whole crash test stuff. This happened to be a relatively low speed incident, but you saw the damage. I mean, it looked bad. The other vehicle, I have no idea what it looked like. I don't even know what kind of car it was. The little report that the officer gave us, it was simply saying it was a Honda. It had the driver's name, the address, the plate number, but mom didn't even really see it. She thinks it was a car, but she couldn't tell if it was a car or an SUV. And I think it had to be a car because had it been an SUV, I think the damage would have been a little greater. Speaking of the officer, when mom was telling me everything that was happening and they were waiting for the tow truck, I went over to the officer and I was like, so hello officer, I'm her daughter and I'm trying to figure out where are we at with this incident. And he was like, oh, I already called the tow truck. It just takes them a while to get here because they were coming over from about 20-25 minutes away. And this is a tow truck, so it's gonna be like slightly slower. But he said we didn't have to stay there any longer. So mom was trying to like empty out the RAV, and I'm like, Ma, this is an emergency. You're in a state of shock. It's okay, but you can walk. We need to get out of here because we're in the middle of this busy ass road. It's like 6 p.m., peak traffic on a Thursday. She was coming out of the grocery store. So I said, anything that is absolutely important, take it. She was trying to take some stuff from the trunk, like a little, one of those chairs that you can take to go camping and stuff. And I said, Ma, remember, emergency. Take the things that you need to continue with your life. Documentation and medications, if you have them scattered or anything. Wallets, purses, that's it. Leave everything else behind. She had groceries, so between herself, myself, and my boyfriend, we were able to take those with us, and we better because she had perishables in there like meat, chicken. But I just urged her to remember what to do during an emergency. She literally taught me that stuff. In case of emergency, what you do is you run with your life. Everything else, you leave it behind. So like, come on, what's happening during this incident? It was just a lot of things happening at the same time. And my interaction with the officer was also something like, sorry, I have a couple of stupid questions because like, I just got here, as you observed, and we have never done this before. Like, we have never been in a wreck like this before. And I like what he said. He said, that's why it's called an accident. You don't plan for it to happen. I'm glad that he said it like that because it's not like I was struggling, but it helped keep my perspective a little more focused. And my biggest concern was getting home, and I'm like, Ma, don't play with me, don't mess with me. You call the insurance, you talk to them, you are alive, you tell them the story, you process this. Don't ask me anything. I can help you write things down. Like, I came out with my notebook, my pen, and everything, and I said, here's your insurance card, dial this number, and process it. Because she was acting like she didn't know what to do. And I'm like, Ma, I get it. You're stressed. You're in a state of shock, but this has to happen now. You need to contact these people as soon as possible. Regain yourself. Do what you gotta do. Drink a tea if you have to, but you have to do this, especially now that the memory is still fresh. And it was just strange because when the insurance people were asking her, tell us what happened, she like looked at me and I'm like, I wasn't there. So this incident helped to illustrate the things that I have always tried to express, but it's hard to express because I don't really have a real life, real time example of physical consequences that you can observe to illustrate my point. And that's why, again, I'm sharing it from my perspective because this is about me, this is my show, this is my journal, these are my thoughts. I'm the main character here. Hopefully that's an appropriate way to describe it with the whole main character syndrome thing. As I'm telling you this, I can only talk about what this means for me, how this affects me, how I saw things, how I heard things, how I processed it, and the experience post-incident. Of course, everything has fallen on me. I have been feeling the pressure, and at least Mom has been decent about organizing herself in a way to where the physical impact on me is minimal, like say what actually takes up my time and things like that. But this has highlighted some other things as well, because this morning, for example, when I was making my video about me going to the post office today, the reason I was like blocked and at a loss for words was because she didn't even say good morning to me. She didn't ask me how I was doing or anything. I was in my room and she texted me going like, so the insurance company sent some online documents to sign. And I was like, okay, I'll look at it later. But that's what I mean. My relationship with her tends to be very business oriented. We never plan recreational things. Fun conversations tend to happen because I disrupt them into being that way. Because we can start off talking about, let's say we're talking about my day at work. And then all of a sudden she'll interject with something like, oh, we gotta pay rent because the first is in 2 days or so. And I'm like, can I finish my story? When this incident happened, all I could think about is, great, this is going to change my life. She's going to become even more reliant on me. And this is the kind of thing that makes me be like, how can I be excited about other people, tiny people, like children, depending on me when I have never even gotten to enjoy that season in my life? Me being a kid, it was still business oriented. Me being a teen, business oriented. As a young adult, business oriented. And all these decades, that has been the relationship. That has been the way of things. And that shit just sucks. Because now it's like, oh, my parents are entering their elder years. And I'm like, what do you mean you're entering elder years and you need help when I still haven't really enjoyed you to your fullest as a parent? Like, you being present in my life has been, you only gotta work. We don't get to do anything fun. Our conversations are always serious, business oriented, nothing warm, nothing loving, nothing affectionate. And the only time that happens is when I have a meltdown and I reproach the fact that that's the kind of life that we have. That's where my saltiness comes from. That's where my degree of frustration and resentment comes from. Like, being with my family has never been fun because everybody is consumed with their problems. And then they see me now as a grown person who lives a simple life. The problems that I have are problems that I independently can manage. And it's like, oh, okay, you have an easy life, which is hard to maintain my easy life. But all you see is that my life is organized and relatively put together in those regards. Like, I'm independent, but you have so many complications in your life that you wish to involve me in your matters so that I can help you live more comfortably with your troubled life. That's not fair. Make decisions that favor your personality, your capabilities, physically, emotionally, mentally. Do not live a complicated life to depend on others to ease the burden of your complicated life. Be like me. I picked a life that's simple enough for me to independently deal with it. I never ask for help from any damn person. But lately, because people have been offering to assist, I have been trying to take advantage of that and be like, damn, what is it like to actually feel supported? People have been offering support. So what is it like to indulge in that help? Because the help is not directly for me. The help is because someone has my resources at their disposal. Therefore, that's putting me in a disadvantageous position. 10 years ago, when I started off with my really bad financial situation, how did I end up that way? Because I had to assist someone else who had an issue with something, and I had to get involved. I lost everything, and it was never made up to me in any way. So it's not like, oh, I made bad decisions that led me to having my bank account in the negatives. It's, no, me being involved with someone's problem drained me, and I never was helped to rebuild. Like yesterday, when I said that I caught a ride from a coworker. She could have come pick me up, or I could have had my boyfriend pick me up, but I'm like, my boyfriend is tired. He needs to go home so that he can rest, so that he can go out and do his side stuff. Why would I bother him if I have other options that would have a minimum impact on someone who has been supporting me already? And that is something that I wish my mom would do, because she's always saying, you're all I have. You're the only person I have. And I'm like, when the RAF's battery died, you literally hung out with a friend all day. You did not attempt to resolve your problem. You waited for me to come out of an 8-hour shift on a weekend from retail to then deal with that shit and involve my boyfriend as well. We have to disrupt our lives because in the daytime, when you could have done this because you don't have no job to go to, instead you are hanging out with a friend, possibly for recreational reasons, as opposed to being like, hey friend, something came up, help me do this and that. But no, overly relying on me. And had I not done that, the RAV probably would have never been wrecked because it probably still wouldn't have the fucking battery on it. That's what I'm saying. I know that I could have used my boyfriend or my mom, but I decided to use someone else to ease some burdens and not continue to rely on just that small circle of people. I don't want to burn out my boyfriend, for instance. My mom, though, she has never thought of it like that. She has always summoned me first when she knows she has other options. It's like, I want you to do it because I only trust you. Do you not think that has emotional and mental and physical consequences on me? Start bothering other clowns. You have people to go out with. You do things. Why don't you call them up when you have something serious happening? No, it's always me for the little things and especially for the bigger things. That's what makes me mad. Give me a break. And I did this on purpose. The day of the wreck, when we were driving home from the scene, I was like, Ma, starting right now, start calling up the family. Tell them what happened. Tell dad, tell your cousin, tell my brother, you are going to need help. And if you're going to use me, I am going to need help. Immediately, instantly. She said, I don't have anybody. You're all I have. And your brother. And I'm like, that's bullshit, Ma. I hear you at home on the phone talking to people who are not my brother. And I see it on the phone bill. You can waste hours talking to motherfuckers. Why are you spending that much time with them if you're not cultivating a meaningful relationship to where when you need something, they can't or won't support you? Cut them out then and keep looking for people who will genuinely develop something with you to where they'll help you when you need it. But no, instead, I'm the youngest fucking kid and I haven't gotten to be a kid because of this shit. That's why I'm mad. Everybody got to enjoy their youth, enjoy their years, bullshit and travel and recreational shit, but I haven't gotten to do a damn thing. And when I have had the opportunity to do so, I had to cancel because I had to go somewhere to rescue somebody who got to enjoy their young season. I'm sick of it. I think that's a responsible thing to do. With my mom, yesterday was her first time driving since her incident. This is a car that's no longer familiar for her. She's always talking about how she feels out of place and disoriented and she can't even reach the pedals. She has to readjust the seat all crazy because she's significantly shorter than me. And all those things. The road is super dangerous. This week alone, I saw the aftermath of 3 crashes. One of those crashes, we saw a car like on the outside of some wooded / grassy area, and we never saw the second car. So the second car maybe ended up deeper in the woods, something like that. I can't even tell you. I told her, look, Ma, this is a holiday weekend. Things are going to be even crazier. It's going to be more stressful. I don't expect for you to feel most confident after what you experienced. So how about if we minimize the risks being taken? How about if you just go straight home after your appointment? Don't worry about me. I'll find somebody. Not because I don't want you driving my car, but because I think that it's best if at 3 o'clock on a Friday that is a holiday kind of weekend, you're not out here. Because even when there aren't any holidays in between, look at the crashes that we're observing. And this is why insurance keeps going up, because now this place has become a stupid high risk area, and now I have to pay more for others' mistakes. Now I'm having the attitude of why there are certain things that I don't want subsidized. Ironically enough, I'm like, I do my job being an excellent driver. I don't have incidents, but despite not having incidents, here are these fools having incidents, not being responsible with their lives, and now I have to pay more for mistakes that aren't mine. Seeing the RAV was impactful. Seeing my mom alive and well and not hurt except for the ankle part was a blessing. It was a privilege. And processing this event with her helped bring out the things that I have already been talking about why I have that difficult relationship, and emotionally talking about my parents and my family is like my nuclear button, because there isn't a lot of love and support being shown. Something fucked up has to happen before things change for the better. And trust me when I say this, if it would have been me who wrecked this car, I would have been completely by myself. My mom would have been like, well, you need to call, you need to do this quick, and try to figure out how you're gonna go about doing A, B, C, and D, because I know I can't. You know about my issues, like, I said nothing to her, nothing critical to her at all. But I guarantee you that had it been me, based on past experience of times when I have made mistakes, I'm never offered anything. When my brother has made mistakes, sure, the situation with him is a little more sensitive and trickier. But it's like, okay, what reward do I get for being the perfect kid if when I'm a straight A student, a straight A citizen, I'm not being rewarded for it? I have never gotten a dime from my parents. Just because it's fun. But my brother, when he gets in trouble, he got all the support in the world. And I'm like, okay, there has never been money for me to be invested in to pursue my dreams. But this clown makes a mistake, loses some stuff. Y'all support him financially. I have needed financial support, but because I appear functional and my bills are paid and I'm not wrecking my car and things like that, you don't think about giving me money for good behavior, for being a good kid, for having my shit together? Maybe ask, you know what? Maintaining your performance, being a reliable worker, being a reliable daughter, being a reliable girlfriend, being a functional adult, all that, that's probably difficult to do and maintain, especially with a positive attitude. How about if I can ease that up a little bit? Or how about if I can reinforce it to keep you motivated? But no, a disaster strikes, that's when money gets deployed. But when times are good, that money could be invested in healthier, better, more exciting ways that, I don't know, make life feel worthy of living. No, none of that happens. Completely unavailable. That's why I'm salty. That's where my resentment comes from, to a certain extent. Why do we deploy our resources when times are bad? And why do we need a body count or a giant material loss for you to finally start expressing warmer things, more loving things? I like to live like I have a tragedy every single day, because hey, at least that brings out the better of you. But it sucks to be living that way, because at some point your brain, I look at it like Play-Doh. Whatever shape you give it, that's the shape that it retains, and it deforms and decays. How about if you start reshaping that with better things, more positive things, more fun things, recreational things, things that are rejuvenating? But no. So anyway, so mom is moving out. She's leaving sometime in August to live closer to my brother and two really close friends that she has and some extra friends that she has at least maintained contact with. And one of her cousins, which of course is one of my cousins too, but she knows him. I really don't know him. He's from her generation, like they're closer in age. I don't think I've met this cousin, come to think of it. And if I have, I was a super, super baby. I don't remember a lot of people. So I told her, look, Ma, you have my support. You're not finding a job. You have these conditions now. You lost your car. You have more support if you head that way. My brother seems to be eager to have you. Good for him. He'll enjoy you in a more retired kind of way, whereas I had to endure you as a worker, stressed, fatigued. Now you'll get to be over there and help him in ways that you never were able to help me, that I could use the help, such as, hey, if you're gonna be at home and you're gonna make food, then feed me if I'm going to be out here working, plus working two things on the side. So now you'll go over there and he's in school for something. He'll get the better version of you, the version that I didn't get, because while we were together, I had to get the worst of you. You were a little younger, still working and all that. So at least my brother can enjoy you in a better season in your life, I guess. Whereas I get that taken away from me. I haven't told her that quite like that. But, I mean, it's common sense. If you think about it critically, it should make sense. So at least I'll just be like, okay, whatever occasional handful of sweet times I was able to make with her, embrace them, whatever. But outside of that, it's like, oh, okay, now that you're gonna enter your slightly better season, that's when you're leaving, so I don't get to experience that better season. And again, focusing on myself, I'm the main character in my life. When I think about it critically like that, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm always losing. I'm always neglected. I'm always the one not getting the resources. And say, when my brother did his stupid shit that cost my parents support, like they had to resort to their finances to help my brother rebuild whatever he had to rebuild. I'm like, oh, so that money had been there, but y'all never spent $1 on me. But because he did something and he needs the help, y'all give it to him. But now that those resources have been used, what if I decide to do something dumb and I need the help? Is there as much money for me? Will I get the same quality care? Will I get the same privilege? Or, oh, well, your brother used us up. See what I mean? What is the point of me being the good kid if all I'm doing is saving my parents' headaches, but someone else does stupid things that create headaches, but it gets addressed? Whereas me, because I was a stellar kid, I'm not getting anything. And I'm like, well, damn. Should I start causing problems too? Fortunately, I won't, because I like to live my life peaceful. I like to be proud of myself and what I'm doing. And on top of that, I just don't want to feel entitled to anything like that. Even though I'm definitely owed a lot because I haven't been invested in. I'm not going to start drama to get that kind of attention. I think that's the wrong kind of attention. But I would like to see my parents come together and help me. But as precedent dictates, I have to do something extraordinarily disruptive to my life and wellness in order to get their attention. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully this story helps somebody out there. If you have trouble expressing yourself, but you relate with what I'm saying, just know that your parents are not untouchable. Sure, we are raised to look at them as pillars in our lives, because they are, but they do make mistakes. They're not perfect, and we have always been discouraged from speaking critically about them. That created the image that these people are untouchable. And I think that it is important for you to openly address those things so that you, if you ever end up having their role, you don't make those mistakes. And I understand why people say that I would be a great parent, but understand why I'm not willing to. I am not excited by the idea. I think it's a stress. I think it's a business transaction that's going to set me back even more. I have begun building myself from below the ground up to the ground, and now I'm trying to build from the ground up. You cannot expect for me to be excited about that prospect. I also am not ready to share my time. I haven't had fun in my youth, really. Like, I cannot say that I had a season in which, you know what, times were awesome, times were good. I enjoyed this season. Like, I haven't enjoyed really any season of my life. That's what I'm trying to create. And I just don't think that as someone who comes from below the ground up, I'm always the one being resourceful and resolving things. But after I have contributed, nobody comes back to me and goes, "Hey, Zam, you were very present and invested during my time when I ran into X situation. What can I do to make up for the losses that incurred on your end?" And I'll be like, "Oh, paying the electric bill would be great. Oh, putting gas on my car would be awesome. Oh, dinner would be awesome." Anything, anything at all. But nah, it's okay. You use me, and then you see that I'm still doing okay, that on my part, everything is still getting done, and that's it. There's no mention of reparations for me, ever. I'm perceived as someone who does not need repair or compensation or anything. And it also doesn't help that I'm not a complainer. Like, I'll talk shit and trash here and complain and stuff, but I don't like to go back to someone with my clipboard and be like, keeping a score. "You owe me for this, you owe me for that, and da 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 da." And well, you can't do that to, say, something like a parent, because your parents have given you so much more. And I'm like, I think parents do that out of legal obligation and because they know that it's the right thing to do. Otherwise, their reputation will sink. And I'm not questioning. I can only speak for my mom because my dad clearly failed. When it comes to my mom, I know that she cared to do a good job, and I'm grateful for her with those things. But I must say that it did have a cost. There are some areas in which I suffered, and I'm not ashamed of it, I'm not embarrassed of it, but I hate that talking about it is something that nobody really wants to hear because it's making you uncomfortable. And I'm like, you did a good job, sure, on certain things, but these are the areas where you didn't do as well. You can say that about me too, like, Zam, you have been great, but you skipping out on an education is costing you. You not investing is costing you. You not making certain decisions is costing you. I'm saying that about my parents. My father making the decision to be absent, that had consequences. My mom making the decision of exclusively focusing on being responsible with bills meant that I was emotionally and mentally neglected. That's all I know about her. Like, seeing her as a stressed adult, being on top of all that. And she succeeded. She did great. She had a perfect score with paying everything, having rent paid and bills paid, and she never went to jail or anything like that. But again, that has a cost. In order for you to maintain that status, you have to invest your time doing something somewhere. Working. Working breaks you down physically, mentally, and emotionally. When you're broken down like that, you project that shit at your house. You project that onto your kids. Your kids are being affected by that. That is where I am today. I am describing what actions led to what consequences. I don't hate anybody. Sure, I'm hurt. Sure, I'm underdeveloped. But if me sharing my story helps others avoid that mistake and lead healthier lives than I ever did, then I'm happy. I'm not going to do this with my own children because my children are never coming. And I'm happy with that. I made that determination when I was like 8 years old. I've never been excited about the idea of being a mom, not even for play dates. Okay, like some women out there, ever since they were kids, they just knew that they wanted 5 kids or so. I have never ever had the itch or desire of a child. Not at all. So yeah, you guys, that's what's happening. It's a life-changing event. It's a life-changing event that I'm grateful happened. And I think that I'm able to process it so well because of the thinking that I do continuously. And that is something that I'm never gonna stop. I think it's where I thrive the most. I think that you need to learn to be more present in your life. Present with your family, present with your friends, present with, to a certain degree, your work too, your co-workers and stuff, and try to think about the ins and outs of it. There are people who tell me that they wish that they had the ability to explain things the way I do. Honestly, the only way you can do this is by doing what I do, which is I may not be the most social person in the world, but I'm not just going to be a recluse that doesn't observe. At least I still get curious, I ask questions, I try to look at things objectively and try to find the answers to what I'm observing. But you need to learn to quiet down certain social noises, online and offline. Not everybody is going to be a good fit for you, but learn to identify based on who you know you are, what fits you. And that's why I have little to no continuous contact with the vast majority of people I encounter. There's only like 5 people I can say that I can give quality responses to, but everybody else is just not practical to entertain. And that's why I think having this helps me. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to tell me about your stories, if you have ever been in a wreck, how it changed your life, how it changed the life of a loved one. It can be either as light as possible or as tragic as possible. I won't ever really filter you guys out. Also, if you have had struggles with your parents, whether you feel like they were present but absent at the same time, or they were completely absent, or they were too present, talk about that too. And when I talk about my parents, I'm not talking about them with any kind of hate or disdain. I'm not sure I would have done a better job myself. I can only speak based off what I have experienced, based on the actions they have performed. But it's not like I have the answers to rebuilding from this. All I can do is share the story, leave myself out in the open for anyone to say whatever they want. But I think that if you admire where I'm at mentally, it's because of this. Be brave. Just face it, accept it, and try to build up from it. But never ever exaggerate what you're sharing in the name of shock and attention. Everything I ever say, I base it off exactly what I remember, what I heard, and what I'm sure happened. I'm not trying to exaggerate something to get more sympathy or empathy or anything like that. I don't need any of that. My time to have that is over. But at least get comfortable with talking about the difficult things, even when you are the difficult person. And that's how you get here. This was my copy. The other one, of course, we had to leave with the tow people, and by extension, after releasing it to insurance, they kept it. But yeah, this is actually originally Mom's key because her battery had died, and then we swapped it. So technically, my original key is the one that's gone. Can you imagine if after being with me for so long, this started to work on my car? That would be funny. I'm gonna keep this. I don't like to keep objects because I find them to be clutter now, especially if they don't have a function. But I have kept my old license plates, and cars to me are a different kind of possession. So I'm gonna keep this. I read the entirety of the owner's manual for my Corolla, but I never glanced at this before. It's pretty easy and self-explanatory using the software it had. Does it ever happen to you guys that an object can bring back so many memories? I remember the night we got all this, the night we bought her. And it's just crazy that right next to me is where it used to live. But now it's not there. I'm just so glad that it didn't become part of a more tragic, severe statistic.